Activities. They are the basic material of our lives. Through our activities, we structure our days and relationships to others and to our environment. In many ways, who we are as people is defined by our activities. From infant to adolescent to adult, as we grow and change, so do our activities. And healthy old age is rich with opportunities for enjoyment, relationships, and meaning. But for those suffering from Alzheimer's disease or one of the related dementias, engaging in these activities becomes increasingly difficult. As the disease progresses, even the most familiar activities begin to lose their meaning and may cause confusion, frustration, and anger. The victim is increasingly isolated from life and loved ones, with few opportunities for even the simplest pleasures. Adult daycare centers are a community resource offering supportive daytime care for those suffering from Alzheimer's disease and related dementias. An alternative to unwanted or premature institutionalization, a center also offers relief to caregivers from the emotional and social strains of caring for an afflicted loved one. At the heart of a center is a program of activities in which the members participate. A successful activities program fills a member's days with enjoyable social activity and companionship and helps in maintaining faculties that might decline through inactivity and isolation. But designing an activities program to meet the needs of an elderly dementia victim is a complex task. Center participants represent a mixed population, often suffering from a variety of conditions. Each of these in itself presents differing levels of impairment. Activities appropriate for someone with mild dementia are often unsuitable for those with moderate or severe dementia. And of course, each member of the center is unique, presenting an individual range of abilities, interests, and impairments. This video presents a framework for selecting and analyzing activities. The framework has been designed to help you in creating activities programs that are appropriate for adult daycare center populations. This framework was developed by Dr. Paula Gelber-Dromi of the Andrus Gerontology Center at the University of Southern California.
This framework is basically a tool which allows us to organize our knowledge about activities. By breaking activities down into their component parts, we can determine exactly what the behaviors and skills needed by participants are. In this way, we can reach our major goal of serving a maximum number of persons in attendance at the adult daycare center. It is always important to remember that not only must our activity programming serve these people, but it must do so while enhancing their dignity and providing the pleasure of companionship, participation, and laughter.
The framework is designed to help you evaluate and make effective use of activities. It is in terms of activities that it is best understood. The activities found in adult daycare centers fall into 5 general categories. Activities of daily living, such as cooking, eating, and personal care. Physical activities, such as games, walks, and exercises. Recreational and social activities, such as games and group sing-alongs. Sensory activities, such as listening to storytellers, making music, or working with different textured fabrics. And cognitive intellectual activities, such as question and answer games and theme group discussions. These categories are not exclusive. One activity can fit into more than one category. Dancing, for example, is a recreational and social activity, but it is also a physical activity as well as a sensory activity. The framework allows us to examine an activity in terms of 7 components: the goals of the activity, the controls of the activity, the prescriptiveness of the activity, the cognitive and physical competencies needed for the activity, the interaction possibilities present in the activity, and the rewards of the activity. These components are the critical factors to consider when evaluating an activity. Follow along as we use an activity to illustrate them.
It's good to have you this morning. We're going to be making a fruit smoothie today. How many people enjoy fruit?
Preparing food is an activity of daily living. Fruit can be used to make salads or smoothies.
Okay. All right.
The goals of an activity refer to the objectives obtainable through member participation. The goals of fruit salad making are to maintain manual dexterity, to provide an opportunity to contribute to the program, to reinforce household skills, and to work as part of a team. The control component of an activity refers to the controls inherent in the activity as well as those coming from the staff or volunteers. In salad making, there is a high degree of control exercised both by the staff and by the activity itself.
Who was David Ben?
A group discussion, however, is a low control activity. Here control is exercised mainly by the participants, while the leader acts as a guide.
N32.
In high control activities like bingo, the rules of the game control the actions of both members and staff. The prescriptiveness of an activity refers to the rules, regulations, and behavior that define it. Chess is an activity of high prescriptiveness because it is defined by many strict rules and behaviors. A discussion has few rules and behaviors and is an activity of low prescriptiveness. Fruit salad making requires washing, peeling, cutting, sorting, and blending in a sequential order. It is an activity of moderate prescriptiveness. The competency components of an activity refer to the minimal levels of cognitive and physical abilities that are necessary for participation. There are 6 cognitive factors of competence: comprehension, information storage and retrieval, attention span, judgment, verbal and nonverbal communications. Comprehension refers to the amount of understanding that is needed to participate in an activity. Fruit salad making requires moderate comprehension. The next factor refers to the amount of information that must be stored and retrieved to be able to perform the activity. Fruit salad making requires a low level of information storage and retrieval. Attention span refers to the amount of time and concentration the activity demands. Fruit salad making requires a moderate attention span. The degree of judgment required of a participant is a crucial factor, since some of the victims of Alzheimer's disease lose the ability to differentiate their hands and fingers from the materials they are manipulating. Fruit salad making calls for a moderate level of judgment. Verbal and nonverbal communication refers to the amount of communication necessary to perform the activity.
The first thing I want to do is
Fruit salad making needs little communication.
clean up right now. And I've got a glass.
There are 4 physical factors of competence: ambulation, movement, gross motor skills, and fine motor skills. Ambulation refers to the amount of walking or moving from one place to another necessary to perform the activity. Movement refers to the amount of overall movement necessary. Fruit salad making requires a low amount of both ambulation and movement. Gross and fine motor skills refer to muscle control and the ability to manipulate objects of different sizes and shapes. Fruit salad making requires moderate levels of both gross and fine motor skills. When you have determined the competencies needed to participate in an activity, you can compare them to the actual abilities possessed by your center's members. This makes it easy to decide if an activity is appropriate for your population. The interaction component of an activity refers to the possibility for various types of interaction between the participants. There are 4 focuses of interaction, each including the possibilities for both verbal and nonverbal communication: individual, aggregate, dyadic, and group. Again, any one activity can offer the possibility for one or more of these interactions and focuses. Individual focus refers to action that takes place either in the mind of the individual or in relation to something in the environment. No other contact is required. Watching a performance is an activity that provides individual interaction. Aggregate focus refers to action directed towards something in the environment while in a group that is doing the same. Playing music in a rhythm band is an activity that provides aggregate interaction. Activities with aggregate focus encourage individualism in a warm, supportive atmosphere and can act as forerunners to the other forms of interaction. Dyadic focus refers to action directed between 2 persons. A conversation provides dyadic interaction. Group focus refers to actions directed between persons engaged in cooperative or competitive group activities. Dancing is an activity that provides group interaction. Fruit salad making offers the possibility for individual, aggregate, and dyadic interaction. The final category is that of rewards. This refers to the availability of the rewards that help give meaning and value to the activity. The rewards of activities for victims of dementias generally consist of intangibles, including fleeting pleasures, human contact, and a sense of well-being. The intangible rewards of fruit salad making include pleasant social interaction and the satisfaction of completing a task. Drinking smoothies made from the fruit is a tangible reward. Since these rewards are available to each participant, they are individual rewards. Since they are also available to all participants, they are general rewards.
For this week, as far as nutritional value.
We now have an understanding of an activity of daily living in terms of the factors crucial to successful activity programming. Let's examine the other types of activities in the same way.
Does a postman deliver food?
Guessing games and directed discussion activities designed for reality orientation are examples of cognitive intellectual activities.
Okay.
The main goal of this type of activity is to stimulate and maintain cognitive abilities. Beyond that, they encourage awareness and attention, provide orientation to person, place, or time, and stimulate long-term memory.
Do you remember? Shoes.
No. You know what they have now?
Go ahead.
They have an alley.
The leader of the discussion acts as a guide and exercises only a low level of control.
Something. And the dog.
What's the difference between a coat and a sweater? What's the biggest difference?
Coat is heavier than a sweater.
Listening, thinking, and speaking are the only behaviors required by a discussion, and so it is low in prescriptiveness.
When I say blossom, what else do you
A
think
moderate
of?
level of comprehension is necessary to participate, but only low levels of information storage and retrieval and attention span are required. Though judgment is not necessary at all, participants must possess a moderate ability for verbal communication.
Wonderful.
This type of activity has no physical requirements, so ambulation, movement, and gross and fine motor skills are not important considerations.
I'm wondering what you think of spring.
A directed
Helen.
discussion
What do you think
provides for dyadic interaction and group interaction.
of it? Okay.
The rewards of a discussion are the intangible pleasures of conversation and social interaction. Available to all participants, these are both individual and general rewards. A community walk is a physical activity well suited for dementia victims. Its goals are to maintain ambulatory skills, to stimulate memory and interaction, and to encourage dyadic relationships. A walk requires a high degree of control by a staff leader, but since the participants need only to be able to walk and follow simple directions, the prescriptiveness is low. A walk requires little in terms of cognitive competencies. Only low levels of comprehension, attention span, judgment, and verbal communications are necessary. No information storage and retrieval is needed. The physical competencies needed for a walk are a moderate level of ambulation and a moderate level of movement. However, neither gross nor fine motor skills are necessary. All four focuses of interaction are possible during the walk, providing the opportunity for individual, aggregate, dyadic, and group interaction. The rewards of the walk are intangible and both general and individual. Bingo is an example of a recreational and social activity. Its goals are to reinforce memory, recall, and discrimination, and to encourage social interaction. Since bingo is a game, its structure provides a high level of control. Although it is a simple game, its prescriptiveness is moderate. To participate, members require moderate levels of comprehension, but low information storage and retrieval abilities. However, attention span and judgment must both be moderate. Low levels of both verbal and nonverbal communication are also necessary. While ambulation and movement are not required at all, low levels of both fine and gross motor controls are needed to manipulate the game pieces. The game does not provide for individual or aggregate interaction, but it does encourage dyadic and group interaction.
16.
While the enjoyment of playing the game is a general and intangible reward, bingo is a competitive game. Some rewards are limited to the winning individuals or teams. Any prizes awarded are tangible rewards. The pleasure of winning is an intangible reward.
Thank you, Lena.
He's got the whole world in his hand. He's got the whole wide world in his hand.
A sing-along is a sensory activity.
Very good. Give yourself a hand.
The goals of a sing-along are to encourage interaction, to provide enjoyment and tactile expression, and to stimulate past memories. While a leader is often required for this activity, the leader's level of control is low. A sing-along is defined by very few rules and behaviors, so prescriptiveness is low. Very few cognitive or physical competencies are required for a sing-along. Only low levels of comprehension, attention span, verbal and nonverbal communication abilities are needed. The only physical competency needed is a low level of gross motor control. With the exception of the dyadic focus, a sing-along makes possible all types of interaction and communication. The rewards of this type of activity are intangible and both general and individual. The framework can be applied in this fashion to any activity you are currently using or may be considering. However, to create a successful activities program, you must balance your knowledge of activities with an equal understanding of the participants. This balance comes from an individual evaluation of every member of your center, taking into account their physical, intellectual, and social conditions. Essentially, the more you know about each of your members, the better you will be able to create suitable activities for them.
What is the value of an individual evaluation?
I think that the value is to get an idea of what each individual is capable of doing or being, and then we try and work that into a program. If we had no idea what people were capable of doing, you're sort of working blind. I mean, this way you have some idea, and you change. I mean, you have to be very flexible.
The evaluation begins with an intake interview when a member first visits a center. At this time, a file is open that contains a member's diagnosis and the family's reason for bringing them.
In the interview, we're truly trying to find out as much about an individual as we can find out, about their background, their talents, their family, their illnesses, everything, the whole gamut. I try and ask a lot of the questions in conversation rather than just answer 1, 2, 3, and 4. And it works much better. People will tell you stories about themselves and their lives and their families, and you gather a lot of information that way. And you make an evaluation as you go along. It's not always on the paper, but some of it's in your head, and that's how we do it.
The member's file is constantly updated with observations about their competencies, interests, and limitations. This way, staff have an ongoing record of the various needs and interventions required by individual participants. New information about participants should be gathered at the beginning of every day.
The clues that we look forward to when we greet the participants in the morning will be the physical appearance of the individual and the response of the participant when we greet them. Good morning, and I always say the day of the week. I'll say, good morning, Bob, happy Wednesday. And the response back is often a definite indicator. We may have a glazed look, confused look, or the participant will say, I'm not really sure where I am or what kind of a day I'll have. That's a definite clue.
When creating an activities program, center staff are guided by 3 principles.
In planning programs for our center, I think it's really important to keep in mind the ability of our clients and to mesh that with the ability required to carry out that activity. I don't want it to be too difficult. I want them to be challenged, however, but I want them to be successful.
We keep in mind the fact that we want as many people as possible to participate in our activity, making everyone feel a part of the group. And I think we've accomplished that well with the use of singing, where everyone at whatever level joins in and enjoys the rhythm and the music.
One important part of planning is to get their input on what they like to do and what is important to them. For instance, in trips, we like to ask them where they would like to go, whether it's the Arboretum or the park or the ice cream parlor.
The framework, together with your individual evaluations, will help you realize these principles. In general, activities appropriate for dementia victims call for high control by group leaders and a low to moderate prescriptiveness. The higher levels of control give a sense of security that can help alleviate the disorientation of the more impaired members. Too many high-control activities, however, puts a strain on staff and can make members feel they are being herded around. Design your activity programs to offer a variety of control levels. Also, keep in mind that people have differing backgrounds and interests. They are not robots and should not be expected to always obediently follow a specific program. Never force a member to participate in an activity. Rather, provide alternative activities for those who wish them. Your individual evaluations of the members will help you prepare for this. The 3 modes of activity that are especially appropriate for adult daycare center participants are musical activities, physical activities, and cognitive activities that encourage reality orientation. Music and singing are sensory activities that allow for group participation.
What we have found from the very beginning, and quite by chance at first, is that singing is an incredibly involving activity for everyone. And everyone can enjoy it, and we've never made it a thing that has to be perfection, but just simply a lot of fun. No matter how low the functioning of the person, they're able to sing and remember words. So that's very important for the whole group, for everyone to feel a part of it.
Well, said Fox, the thing I really would like the best, Mo, is
Dementia victims are unusually sensitive to the emotional quality of individuals and the feeling tone communicated by stories. This is also a sensory activity, but unlike music, does not encourage group interaction.
I don't know.
Hey, grab it here.
Oh, good, Pa.
There we go.
Physical activities provide for group interaction and encourage physical well-being while maintaining ambulatory and motor skills. They tend to have high levels of control by a leader. While the general physical disabilities of dementia victims often seem to limit the application of this type of activity, the fact is that with some imagination and care to keep the activity's prescriptiveness low, you can come up with physical activities that are both interesting and enjoyable.
Pretty good.
I'm the after-dinner drink that's very friendly.
Cognitive activities like discussions and guessing games serve to stimulate intellectual and communicative functions and provide dyadic and group interaction. They generally have low to moderate levels of control.
How words mean the same thing.
What is today? Monday. Right.
April.
It is a good idea to begin each day at the center with some form of reality orientation. This function addresses the confusion and disorientation that are ongoing problems of individuals with dementia and should be woven into every activity.
Very good reason why I'm using black.
Activities should be drawn from every possible source: birthdays, religious and ethnic holidays, and changes of season. Any universal themes or experiences that are shared by members of the same generation tap their long-term memories and provide a basis for interaction. When evaluating the effectiveness of any activity used in your center, consider these 5 points. The activity should support the competencies and functioning of the members. The activity should serve as a bridge between the inner reality of the member and the outer world. The activity should provide enjoyment and pleasure. The activity should encourage social interaction. And the activity should sustain the dignity and the quality of life of the members. If an activity fulfills these guidelines, it is worth using. If not, it should either be modified or abandoned. It is often difficult to know how to deal sensitively with dementia victims who are displaying problem behaviors. Understand that the person is not just being difficult. As people age, they experience changing roles and a general loss of control. Faced with this, they may become rebellious and look for ways to say no. Gentle intervention is the method necessary when dealing with these members. Instead of saying no back to them, give them a hug or provide them with a distraction. Remember, it is important to acknowledge their feelings.
We find that unconditional love and just an openness helps so much to have the participant respond to us in a more gentle, positive way.
This approach prevents trivial issues from becoming a source of conflict. It also serves to reduce stress on the staff. Finally, always remember that your main goal is to create activity programs that encourage the members of the center to function at their highest level, that enhance their dignity, that foster relationships, and that offer moment-to-moment enjoyment. When all the facets of this complex community are working harmoniously, the time spent by members at a center can significantly brighten their lives and improve their relationship with family and friends. The framework for selecting and analyzing activities, used together with individual evaluations of the members of your center, offers a systematic but open-ended method for creating successful activity programs. When you plan and evaluate your activities using the guidelines and the methods presented here, you enhance your staff creativity and capability, as well as providing participants with dignity, activity, and laughter.